everybody. What's going on? It's your girl, Paulette. I'm the owner and founder of Brownstone Worldwide, which houses brownstoneworldwide.com, Brownstone Living Magazine, and KCCR, The Brownstone, the podcasting app. We're so happy to have you join us here this afternoon for another edition of the Lunch and Learn Hour. And guys, we have a special guest with us this evening, midday, if that's what you want to call it, where we're going to get an opportunity to talk with comedian Mike Goodwin. But like we always like to do, we want to make sure that you are aware of who these people are before we get an opportunity to dig in and find out more about how they do what they do. So you can grab your pens, grab your papers, do what you need to do so you can get some of these nuggets that Mike Goodwin is going to be sharing with us today. So let's get into it, shall we? This is Mike Goodwin, guys. And let me go ahead and let you know, Mike Goodwin is a refreshingly funny comedian, speaker, and leader. His signature bow tie represents his expectation-defying brand of comedy that leaves a variety of audiences, from churches to corporate events to swanky galas, laughing hysterically and completely inspired without a foul or vulgar word spoken. He's a native of Camden, South Carolina, holds a master's degree in education from the University of South Carolina, is a veteran of the U.S. Army, and a former primary and secondary education professional. He infuses his varied life experiences into his act, making him relatable to audiences from all walks of life. Using his ability to merge leadership and laughter, Mike is a powerful communicator whose primary goal is to leave places and people better than he found them. He's appeared on America's Got Talent, Lifetime, BET, Dry Bar, Comedy, TBN, Daystar, USA, Circle TV, Sirius XM, and That Sounds Fun podcast tour, and USO Europe comedy tour. Mike's programs have inspired teams at corporations like Guess, Procter & Gamble, and Dermira. A Southern gentleman with a curious mind, love for people, and heart for God, Mike Goodwin is in a class all his own. He resides in Columbia, South Carolina, with his beautiful wife, Rosalind, and their 2 children. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring up Mr. Mike Goodwin. How are you? Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Paulette.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm so appreciative that you took time out of your busy schedule, because after reading all that, I need a drink. Okay. I need a sip of water because you're a busy man.
I got some water.
Ready? I'm right there with you, sir. Look, listen, water is bae. Okay.
Right.
So listen, comedian. Now, when I think about comedian, and let's just be clear. Of course, I've heard about you. Of course, I've seen your performances. And of course, I laughed. Okay. So let's dig a little bit deeper. Number one, you're an educator. How in the world did you go from being an educator to being a full-time comedian? Let's start there.
Well, even before that, you were going to say something like, when you think of comedian, what was coming?
When I think of comedian, let's talk about that. I think of, can I go here?
Yeah, do it.
I think about nights watching BET comedy shows, like Ricky Smiley, like Cedric the Entertainer,
right?
Like others who have. Okay, so here's a Zoo Man. So Zoo Man Miller, who's a friend of mine, right?
Corey.
So yeah, so Corey, you know Corey. Okay, so just all of these people, and all of you guys pretty much follow the same kind of flow, where you're not doing a lot of the vulgarness and stuff that you might hear from others. Now, mind you, I think that there's a place for that if you really want a good guffaw, right? So like an earthquake or, somebody else like that. When I think of a comedian, those are the fellas that I think of. And to be honest with you, I see you as a part of that group of fellas, right? So what made you, one, get into comedy? And number two, how did you make that transition from being an educator to getting over into this field of where these folks are?
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things I tell people, I feel like I don't think people think about comedy in this regard. Comedy is neutral. Comedy's like money. So if you take your money and you go to the strip club and you make it rain and you buy bottles,
right, Right.
The,
Okay.
the money's not bad.
No.
It's what you choose to do with the money. Now, if you
Okay.
take your money and you start a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
donate money to scholarships,
Okay.
you buy folks homes and cars,
Mm-hmm.
then they look at you particular place. So comedy is the same way. You can take comedy
Mm-hmm.
and you can use it the way you want to use it. You know, there's people that can be vulgar, be offensive, be
Okay.
abrasive, and then
Yeah.
there are other folks that are more unifying, inclusive,
Yeah.
encouraging, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of my dynamic with it. A lot of it is just my upbringing and how
Mm-hmm.
I was raised.
Mm.
And I used to get slapped in the mouth all the time. Like I always was popped in the mouth because I was always saying stuff
Yeah,
that
we know.
would get me in trouble.
Yeah.
But I also realized some of the best times that I've had with family members or my childhood memories, we were laughing. Like the
Mm-hmm.
best memories
Yeah.
involve laughter. And it doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be
Yeah.
an adult conversation. Like there's times you probably laugh with a friend
Yeah.
over forgetting to put on the other sock or just like very simple things. And
And it
so
becomes, yeah.
I've always been the cousin, the family member, the brother. I've just been funny. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my brother the other day. I'm 47. My brother's probably 44.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when we were children, at some point, I told my brother that his children will be asking my children for snacks. Like that, we would be doing so well that
Okay.
his children would be like, "Is that a Snickers bar that you're having? Can I have a piece?"
Right.
Like,
Okay.
I'm a child, so like, what is going on in my brain to communicate that to my brother and for him to remember that his whole life? Like,
Wow.
my brother's not gonna have my kids out here looking
Hungry. Yeah. Right. So it sounds like everybody has a cousin like you, right? Or a dad. So my dad is like you, right? Always the jokester. He reminds me so much of Richard Pryor. It is ridiculous. Like I cannot go home without wanting to sit on the porch and just laugh and talk. So what I'm hearing you say is you're the guy that helps people to feel like they're welcome.
Right.
Because that's what I'm hearing.
Right.
You know.
And I think a big part of my comedy is nostalgia. Like when I'm talking,
Mm.
I remind you of those things that you've often forgot. I talk about my grandmother and I talk about growing up in the South. And I talk about all these experiences that many people have, regardless of where they're from.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We have more in common than we do.
I love it.
You know, that is not in common, right?
I love it. I love that. And so you went from being an educator. See, we glossed over that, but you went from being an educator to doing comedy.
Yeah.
So you woke up one morning, got out the bed, baby, guess what? I'm leaving and I ain't never going back. What was that like? Like how did your wife take that? How was she? Did she look at you like, are you serious?
If you would talk to my wife, she would tell you she thought she was marrying a judge. Like, you know, she thought I was going to be sitting on somebody's stand and legislating. It's interesting. I have a master's in higher ed. My goal was to become a dean of students or even a college president. That kind of was my trajectory. I had such a good time in college. I said, man, what can I do for a living to stay on a college campus? And I found out about student affairs.
Wow.
I went and got a master's in student affairs. And I was working in student life at the University of South Carolina. But I feel like comedy was purpose and destiny.
Okay.
And it appeared at a time in life where I think I may have, over the course of my life, I never was one of these guys that would tell my mother, like, I'm going to be a comedian, I'm going to make all this money, I'm going to buy you a house. Like, I'm from little town, South Carolina, so I didn't even know that these things were accessible. There was no comedy club there. There's no famous comedian from my hometown. And I really didn't think I was that funny as it related to standing in front of an audience. So you had to have material. You got to tell a story. I'm funny off the cuff, impromptu, messing with people, being silly. So when I started doing stand-up, I was 28. So I gathered all these life experiences. I've joined the military. I've been to college. I've been to graduate school. I just got married. So I had a foundation of experiences that have happened. And I always felt like there was something missing. And I'm very ambitious. I graduated from high school. I joined the military. I did 4 years in the military. I went to college. I did my 4 years of college. I went to graduate school. In college, I was a student and ambassador. I was a resident assistant. I joined a fraternity. I was on ROT. So I was doing things. I wasn't just sitting around trying to figure out what's my life going to be. I'm the guy that I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm going to do this. If I don't like doing this, I'm going to go do this. And
Okay.
This is going to take me to that. And that's going to take me to that. So that's basically what happened. I started doing things.
Kept doing things. Okay.
I was doing things, and I didn't have a problem with speaking in public. I didn't have a problem presenting. I actually, so here's one of the first experiences. I didn't really know that comedy was I was supposed to be doing, but it was one of the first things that happened that communicated to me that I was funny in a professional setting. So I worked at the University of South Carolina in multicultural student affairs. And we were doing student leadership conferences. They would have these leadership conferences where they would ask for presentation from staff members or even students, and they would invite other colleges from the local area to come in for it. So I was talking with someone, and I had noticed that the students that I was working with at this point in time, it's probably 2001, 2002. The early 2000s, late 90s. And I'm noticing that the college students that I'm working with, I'm in graduate school at the time, they were having a difficult time transitioning from the yard to professionalism. So they would have these opportunities for internships, or they would have these opportunities for summer jobs or even interviews. But they would have these email addresses like Juicy Booty at 72.
Wait a minute.
Sexy Shonda at
Wow. Okay.
This is what they had. These were their email addresses. Drop it like it's hot. Like I don't remember exactly what, but they were email that were not professional emails. And this was the time of the answering machine. So you would call their room, and the phone would ring, and then all of a sudden you would hear New Edition, or you would hear some R&B song. It would play for 20 seconds, and then they would come on. Yeah, you reached the room of Mike Goodwin. I'm sorry, but I'm not available. So I'm like, hey guys, y'all need to figure out how to leave campus on campus and transition into
So
I created this whole presentation around professionalism, the quality of a solid handshake, looking at individuals in their eyes, your resume, your email address, just all of these things. I just collected a lot of information on transitioning from campus to the corporate space. I put this presentation together. I felt great about it because it was things that I had been noticing with the students I've been working with. And I presented it to a group of students, and it was outstanding. It was funny. Like folks were really laughing. Like I was really engaging and entertaining. I was so funny. There was a group of students that were from a college that maybe like 40 miles away. And they was like, oh my goodness, we're going to go back and tell our dean of students about you. We want you to come and speak on our campus. And I wasn't speaking at this time. I just was doing
this presentation.
I created this presentation.
Yeah.
And I was honored. I was, I felt like, oh, thank you. I mean, they paid it. they waited at the end of the thing to come and say something to me. It was like 6 of them.
Wow.
Man, that was so good and was so informative. We want you to come speak. Now I'm thinking they're gonna ask me to come do my presentation.
Yeah.
At their campus. I get a call from the dean of students Monday morning. He like, yeah, man, these students came back. They were on fire. They loved you so much. We want to invite you to be our Black History Month speaker. And
Shut up.
I said, now me, I didn't have the wherewithal to decline. I should have declined. I should have said, I'm sorry. I would love to come and do my presentation, but anything outside of that, I'm woefully unprepared. I'm woefully, but not me, not Mike Goodwin, not the new keynote speaker of the year. Hey, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will be there.
I love it.
And I went and did one of the most terrible Black History Month speeches you have. I don't even know what I was talking about. I was talking about there was wells that were dug out before. I don't even. I wish I could find that footage because it was. They had TV reporters out there. It was a deal. They were like, "Oh, Black History Month program." Mike Goodwin from the University of South Carolina, Department of Multicultural Students. I was terrible. Oh, that was the trashiest presentation I ever did in my life. Okay. So after that, I said, I'm not speaking in public again. But it was so funny. It was such a funny presentation that later, when the opportunity of comedy came up, and basically that happened because I was serving at my church in the media ministry. Worked in the media ministry at my church. And this comedian by the name of Akintunde had joined our church. He was a nationally known comedian. He had been on BET, Comic View. He had been on Def Jam. He'd done the things, but he had basically gotten tired of cussing on stage. That was that.
Okay.
He wanted to make some changes in his life. He joined our church and he cleaned his comedy up. And we were together in the media ministry, and I just kind of kept running ideas by him, like, "Hey, man, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?" And then one day he was like, "Hey, this is some very funny material. Either you do this material or I'm gonna do this material. But if I do it, I'm not gonna pay you any money." And so I basically got deboed onto the stage. I got deboed on the stage, and I opened up for him one night at a New Year's Eve service at our church, and the rest is history, as they say.
Wow. So it sounds like it was already predestined for you to be in this space anyway. That's what this sounds like.
It's definitely purpose. It definitely filled this void of it was an emptiness. And here was the other thing that I realized about my personality. I used to think I was an extrovert, but I had all this comedic energy pent up and it had nowhere to go. I had all these ideas. I see things differently. And so instead of writing it down, putting it in a notebook, I would just say it. And that's got me in trouble in school.
I bet.
That got me in trouble at home. I didn't know how to harness that creativity, that energy. And I think I would have been better served had I known that as a younger person. Hey, all of your ideas are great. All this information is wonderful. Put it in a book. Let's write that down.
Got it.
This is not the appropriate time. Because if it came in my mind, I said it. Like,
I'm
one of those people for a lot of my life. People are like, I can't believe you just said that. Like, it took a lot for me to like grow up. Because I just said it. And you know, just all the things. And I wasn't. I just didn't know what to do.
You didn't have a filter. You didn't have he's so uncouth. He's this.
And I didn't have an outlet. I didn't have anywhere for this stuff to reside because it just kept building up. I liken it to going to a child's house and they bring you a toy and you play with the toy and you like the toy and they're like, "Oh, you like that toy? I'll be right back." And so by the time you finish, they done brought all their old toys out in the living room. Like, "Hey, man, we don't need all this. This is
right." Okay.
So that's what I would do. I would get in interactions with people and they would say, "Oh, I didn't know you were this funny." "Oh, you thought that was funny." And now I'm doing the most. So I really had to grow up with my comedy.
Now, You were on, let me back up because you said something that I'm listening to your story. You were part of their media ministry, your church's media ministry. And
Right.
so clearly you are Christian,
Right.
right? Okay. Cause I don't want to assume,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
No. No.
So, you, so you're Christian and your comedy, has not so much that flair because again, like I said, I've seen you perform. So you're just naturally funny. That's number one, like a lot of people that I know. And you brought something, to mind when I think about comedy and Black folks. It is a way for us to connect. I'm also hearing you say that. It's a way for us to, in all of the things that we got going on, find some kind of humor in some of the darkness that we dealing with, right?
Right.
Whatever it is. And lastly, the other thing that kind of helps me to round out this next question that I have, because see, I like to be a little nosy, just a little bit. I'm still curious about when did you decide to take the big leap?
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see if we can in pieces. So the first,
Okay.
I think that there is something related to community
Mm-hmm.
and laughter. I say this, I do keynote speaking also.
Mm-hmm.
And I said there's one of two rooms that I go in. I go in a room that has laughter, I go in a room that needs laughter.
Yes, I love it.
And I don't think that we recognize the value of laughter, humor, comedy in a professional setting because especially in our culture, we love to tell people what you laughing at, something funny. Like it just as a matter of what you some funny? Oh, I'm joking. You know, it's so confrontational.
Yeah.
And I was raised in that environment. Like my father, he has a great sense of humor when you get to it, but it's not front and center. Like it takes him a while to get to where he's just relaxed and having a good time. So that is something I realized at an early age. What was my skill set? I could make people laugh. Like I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't light skinned it with curly hair.
Right. Yeah. I understand.
Back in my day, we wasn't dark skin wasn't as cool as it's cool now. Like dark skin,
Lord, here we
dark
go.
skin is cool. I was like, hey man,
I got you.
We was catching it. Wesley Snipes showed up. We was like, hey,
he got
out here.
Here, yes.
When Wesley put that knife in Christopher Williams' hand in New Jack City, that's what the tables turned. I never liked you anyway. You
pretty. Yeah, I remember that. Oh my goodness.
That's when the tables turned for Darcy.
Yeah.
So I had to lean on my strength, and one of the strengths I had was being funny and making people laugh. And so I figured that component out relatively early, even in my house environment. My family, my parents would get into these arguments, and I just wanted to make my mom laugh after they would get into these situations. And so I did that at an early age, and I would break the tension in my home by going into my jokes after my parents had this big, these big explosions in the house. And so that was one of the ways I used to cope. I got you. Comedy to cope through very difficult experiences in my childhood. So that was one of the biggest things. As it relates to what was the other? I forgot the second question.
How did you decide?
Oh yeah.
Flow, like, so you said the rest is history. Oh, but there's some history right there.
Yeah, there's some history feeling right.
Yeah, so this is what the audience, and like I said, I'm a little nosy because you're married. I'm, by this time, and you got the family going. And like I said, you just woke up one morning, you were like, "Hey, Roz, baby, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna do this full time." I'm sure that you didn't do that, right?
No,
I'm being facetious, of course.
No, I didn't do that.
It was probably a plan that you all had. What did that look like as you began to transition from doing education full time to what you are currently doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. What happened was when I did it that first time, I knew that was something that I was destined to do. I knew that on that stage in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that, oh, this is the missing component.
Mm-hmm.
This is the piece that I've been missing. And so that night I was pretty clear. Like I was like, I got to figure out how to do this more. Like I wasn't even thinking leave the job. I was like, man, I just need to keep doing this. And so I had a great experience, or I had a great opportunity, because Akintunde at that point really had me on the road with him for the next 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So the most difficult part of doing comedy is getting started, having opportunities to go and work the craft, because you're not good. Like when you start, you may have some talent.
Yeah.
You're not skilled. You don't understand how to set up a joke and how to communicate to the audience and body language and timing and it's all the pieces, right?
Yeah.
And so I basically had a great experience the first night I went on stage. Then I bombed for like the next 2 years. I just was not good. And I'm not even being humble. I'm not being like, oh man, you know, I was not good. Like I really I had good material. Like so it's just like if you watch, and I hate to like name drop, but I've never been to I would have called people out. He's an R&B singer. I've never been to Brian McKnight concert, right? I think Brian McKnight has a wonderful voice. I love his music. But anytime I see Brian McKnight performing, I'm like, what is he doing? Like anytime I see Brian McKnight dancing, I'm like,
don't.
Yeah, don't do that. Just get you a chair and sing, my man. And so I was kind of Brian McKnight-esque. Now I wasn't as good as he is singing, but I had good material. But what you looked at on stage wasn't good. And so with comedy, if your performance isn't good, if your material isn't good, your performance needs to be excellent. Like sometimes we laugh at things that we don't know why we're laughing, and it may just be because they are jumping around on stage, it's because they're yelling. It's just all the parts of it. And so I had the speaking kind of material parts that was okay, but it wasn't amazing. But then I was standing up there like a robot, and so I'm and so it was like
for 2 years.
For at least 2 years.
Wow.
But I would have moments because I started with 2 other guys, and when we would go out, they would always be better than me. And I found out later that they were kind of competing with each other. They were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you tonight. I'm gonna get you tonight." Nobody was doing that with me, so I was just up there bumbling around. And so, but what encouraged me was I was hilarious in the car. Like I was so funny in the car on the way to the show.
Okay.
Now, once I got to the show.
You fizzled out.
Yeah, I done wore all my little jokes out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But in the car, where I felt most comfortable, where I had done that my entire life, I rode around with my friends cracking jokes. I never stood on a stage with a microphone attempting to be funny. So that was very uncomfortable for me. I felt very out of place.
Okay.
I wasn't communicating with the audience. I was looking over their heads.
Wow.
I was very selfish. I was on stage as a very selfish performer because I was there for me. I wasn't there for the audience. And so back to my faith, I had a conversation with God. Like, hey man, like, I don't know how everybody talk to God. I talk to God like, hey, bro.
Right.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
I know I'm supposed to be doing this. I kind of feel like this is what you created me to do.
Yeah.
But then when I go out here and do, I'm not really good at doing it. So like, help me make sense of this.
Yeah.
And I felt and I understood in this interaction, God was like, you're not talking to the audience. You up there for you. Like you're not doing anything for those people. Like once you start talking to those people, you're gonna have the best time ever. And so my wife actually texts me before I go up on stage every show. She says, have fun and bless the people. So once I started blessing people, my performance became marketably better. Like, it was like the athlete that you looked at like, man, what did he do in the off season? Because last year he was not this good. And you hear athletes will say the game slowed down for them. That's basically kind of what happened. And so I knew that when I first went on stage, but I wasn't good. I had no ability to leave my job. Like, if I would have left my job, I would have went down to unemployment because there was nobody trying to hire me for comedy. There was no comedy opportunity. So I wasn't that delusional to say, I'm out here, baby. Hollywood, here I come. No, it's like, no, you're not. You sir. And so I built up the skill of comedy. I built and I worked and I developed. And I said this, I funded the dream until the dream was able to fund itself. A lot of times people want to go out and have the dream fund them, and the dream is hungry. You put something into the dream.
Tell me about it.
There's been no investment into the dream. So the dream can't reciprocate because you haven't invested anything into it. So I invested in the dream. And I started, and I just told my brother this recently as it relates. I've been doing comedy full time for it's almost 11 years.
Wow.
I never stopped. Like, I know guys and girls that do comedy and they do 6 months, they take a break, they do 3 years. I never stopped. Like, if my calendar was packed, I didn't stop. If my calendar was lean, I didn't stop. Like, I never didn't do comedy. Like, once I started doing comedy,
that was it.
I kept doing comedy. And one of my biggest goals, I had some strange goals. One of my goals when I first started was for people to stop asking me if I still was doing comedy. Because, when you start doing comedy, you'll see somebody be like, hey, man, you still doing your little stand up, man? Now I was like, man, I wanted to be so evident that you like, yo, man, you blowing up, or man, I see you everywhere, man. But that was the big deal to me. Like, folks would come up and be like, hey, man, you still doing your little jokes, man? And every now and again, somebody will still do it. Like, I'm like, dude, I'd have been on America's Got Talent. What are you talking about, man?
Right. Like, I've been everywhere. Like the song said. I love it.
And so I just kept working, and I kept working. And then I made the decision. I think I think about 5 years in, I started getting good. I was worth people paying money to have come do events. And so we just got real aggressive about paying off debt. We said, okay, I knew that the vision ultimately was for me to do comedy full time, but it wasn't the time. So we just said, hey, man, let's just prepare ourselves financially. So once the time comes, we're able. So we started being aggressive, paying off debt, getting our financial house in great shape, getting it super lean. And then when it really became an evident for me to leave was probably, so we started about year 5 being more aggressive with paying off things. So about year 8, I had made half of my salary doing comedy on the side. So we looked at what I'd made in a year, just kind of part-time doing comedy. It was half of my salary. It was like, whoa, if we were able to focus this, there's no limit. And so we noticed that started happening, but then we also noticed that I started losing opportunities. So there was a moment in time where everything kind of worked out. I was able to be at work. I was able to get gigs, and it was kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. Things were falling in place.
Okay.
But then it started becoming a place where I didn't have the strength, and it was like 2 full-time jobs. I was showing up at comedy shows tired, wasn't doing as great a job as I should have. I wasn't doing a great job at my job. So it became like, I can't keep carrying both of these. And then I started losing opportunities because I had a job. It's like, oh, we want to bring you to Canada for a week. Well, I can't leave because
I got to go to work.
I have this job. And so we got to the point of, I one day, it was about December And I'm sitting in the office, and I knew I was burning it on both ends. I was exhausted. I had a pretty big corporate. I was working at this school as the college counselor. I was the sole college counselor, so it was a big deal working with these families, helping them find the next college or the next school for the children. And I was just like, man, this job is too much for me to also try to pursue this comedy.
So let me ask you really quick before you finish. Did you ever think at one point, at any time, I need to let this comedy go because I'm making more over here? Was that ever a thought?
Never.
Oh.
Never. I could have had the worst night comedically, and I wanted to do it again. That's a great question for individuals that kind of feel like, hey, man, I want to know if I'm possibly interested in doing comedy. My advice is to go do it.
Yeah.
Go and do it. That's before anything. Just find an open mic, a talent show. It doesn't have to be that deep. Just find somewhere where you stand in front of people with a microphone telling jokes. Do that. After you do that, that'll kind of give you an idea of, oh, I can do this. Right. Or maybe you do it and you're like, oh, I feel good. That's what I need. I'm going to go on with life. I was doing that, but then I did it and I didn't have good success. Like I was having bad nights and I wasn't doing well. And then the reason I knew I wanted to keep doing it because I was like, oh, I'm going to get them next time.
Ah, okay.
This wasn't good. I didn't have a great show.
Yeah.
But next time I get the microphone, it's going to be okay. So that's the piece. Are you resilient? And I never, there was never I can't remember a time when I'm like, oh man, I'm stop doing this comedy. And I used to joke, I tell people all the time, I'm very employable. I can go get a job.
Right.
Today. Like,
right.
Who would want me hired as a
okay. I love it.
I'm highly employable. Like,
okay.
Who would want me in the organization? So that never was an issue. I can get work. So I just felt I just always felt like I need to get better. I need to be funnier.
Okay.
I need to be witty. I need to be more professional. I need more time. I need more material. I just always was thinking, how can I grow my business as opposed to abandon my business?
I love it. I love it. And I'm glad that you said that because I think what a lot of people don't realize, first of all, this is ministry right now. You don't even know, right? So it's folks listening right now and they're going, and I'm telling them, I'm looking over them like, shut up, don't say nothing. So what you don't know is what you just said is so paramount because for people who are self-employed and running businesses, we get the fear, the concern. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to be what, and then you said something that was very, very paramount to me. And it hit me here. And I had to stop for a minute and reevaluate even while you were talking. Your wife said, have a good time and serve the people. And so I think a lot of times when we're in business, no matter what level of business is, we get this idea that it's about get the money, get the money, get the money, get the money. And we forget that we're there, honestly, to serve the people. I love that.
People, you get the bag.
Come on.
The people in front of the bag. The people will take you to the bag. The bag's not going to take you to people.
My God. See, did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? I want my folks to.
The bag's not going to take you to people. The bag's going to make you isolated and you're going to be guarded and you'll be paranoid.
Yeah.
But the people, they're going to take you to the bag. They're going to say, hey, man, I know some people over there that needs what you got. I know some people over there.
Yeah.
Tell my uncle and aunt, they're going to get you to the bag.
And that's just it. And it's like a flow. Because I'm hearing, even though you had to go through what you went through, number one, you heard from God you knew.
Right.
You were like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because it kept showing up in different places in your life, no matter what you were doing.
Right.
And then boom, you started doing it part-time. And I love what you said about eventually it just the puzzle pieces didn't fit anymore. And you had to let it go. And not one time did you say, no, because comedy can't give me benefits, can't give me this, can't give me that, XYZ. You was like, well,
I'm gonna go work out. I am not gonna get sick. I'm going.
Right. I ain't getting sick. No,
I'm going
I can't
to bed. I'm gonna get some sleep.
Gotcha. That makes so much sense. This is really been good. So I'm curious now. Now here you are. You've been on America's what is it? America's
Got Talent, AGT.
America's Got Talent, and then you did that, and then you've been on BET, and you've been on all of these other networks. What and how did you end up on America's Got Talent, and what did it do for your career?
So it was wild. It was one of these scenarios where, had we not been in the quarantine, I don't know if I would have done it, because I'm not a competition guy. So I'm the guy that I'm gonna take the scenic route. If folks are like, hey man, you got to pay the toll and you can get there, I'm like, no, I'm going the highway, man, because I think I'll have more expansive experience. I'll know how to move around with the toll booth is cut off, and I can't get that way. I'm gonna go the long way. I've always been the long way guy. I'm in the late bloomer, the black, the ugly duckling, all that stuff. Like, always, I'm good taking my time, and so I just wasn't the competition person. And so, while we were on COVID, on the lockdown, quarantine, there was an opportunity where I had interacted with someone saying, "Hey, would you be interested in auditioning for America's Got Talent?" And I thought it was spam, and so I looked into it, and the person was like, no, we're doing auditions, and if you would send in some footage, we would love to stuff. So I sent it in, not thinking anything about it, like I was. And so the person communicated with me that, hey, the producers liked it, we're going to move it forward to the executives. So then they called back in a couple of weeks, the executives liked it, we're going to bring you out here to audition. And so it was pretty simple, and it really catapulted me into a different the different platform or different area. Because I think the thing that was interesting about my journey was I had, up until like Dry Bar and America's Got Talent, some of the more recent things, I had recorded for so many things that never saw the light of day. Like I've recorded, I that was kind of like my little secret insight. Like if they bring me out to record, it's probably not going.
Oh wow, and it did. I remember that.
It was that kind of situation for me for probably 10 years. I mean, I recorded. BET tried to do like a gospel comic view. I recorded for that. I recorded for something called So Laughable down in Savannah, Georgia. I was on TBN. I recorded. Nephew Tommy created this comedy show called Uncontrolled Comedy. That didn't air. I just had experience after experience after experience of things that I recorded. Somebody gave me a check for it, and it never saw the light of day. It just never saw the light of day. So I was very skeptical about like even the television route. I was like, man, maybe that's just not my ministry. Like that's not And so once things started happening, one of the bigger things that happened is there's a platform called Dry Bar Comedy, and they basically just record clean comics. And so they'll fly you to Utah, they'll record your comedy set, and then they put it on their platform. And so if you go on Facebook, they probably have 7 million viewers or followers on there.
Get out of here.
And so I recorded my special, and I was hoping, because I recorded it like late 19, like November of 19. I'm thinking, man, this would be great if they released this during the quarantine, because people were looking for things to do. They released it like November of 20. But once they released it, it started getting great response. People enjoyed it. They were sharing it. And I think that began to put my name out in the wind a bit more.
I love it.
And so that led to more opportunities. And I think that may be one of the reasons that the America's Got Talent folks, I might even hit their radar because of Dry Bar, my set on Dry Bar comedy.
Okay. I love this. You have really shared a lot of nuggets, and I really need you to know that today.
Thanks for having me.
No, I am honored, first of all, because I am a fan.
Number one, y'all, she didn't think I was coming. No.
No.
We were part of a business community, and she was going off about people don't be coming on the thing. And I said, hey, set it up.
Set it up. You did.
Set it up.
You
I'll
did.
be there.
Yes. And not only y'all. So while we talking about that, and I came home and told my children about this. I took my glasses off so I could hold my phone. And that's because I'm wearing, people don't know this, but this is just not like a regular pair of glasses. These are trifocals. Don't do me. These are trifocals. These are not bifocals, right? So you can't see the lines. So I have to take my glasses off if I want to see up close without, giving myself a headache. And he said something. What did you say to me? You said,
there's no telling what I said.
Whatever it was, the people that were sitting in the group we were in fell out. And I said, oh, I see you one of them cats. Okay, okay, let's go set this up right now because you didn't let it go for like 5 minutes. He went in on the fact that I had on these glasses and I still needed, don't you need a bigger screen for that? What you need? You go ahead and blow it up. It's okay. It's all right. We ain't gonna say nothing. I was like, oh my God. And they just dying, and I thought, yeah, I need to get him on this show. Cause if this is why you are paid what you are. And as you said, you are serving the people, which is a beautiful thing. I think that more people need to understand truly what that means. And that when you're serving the people, like you said, the money will come. They're going to take you to the bank. They're going to be like, oh, I know somebody you need to go see. I need to help you do this or blah, 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 because then they're excited and it just begins to flow. And so would you say, just from this came off the top of my head, would you say that your career and where you are outside of your wife and your children, would you say that the success that you have had has been because of the connection to the people that you have served?
Oh, without a doubt. I think number one, my connection and relationship with God is the primary part.
Yeah.
And then serving, when I made that adjustment in my posture of I'm coming inside of this venue to make sure that you have a great experience tonight. Like when I took the thoughts off Mike Goodwin and I started placing them on the folks that are bringing me in, like, what's the purpose of this event? Why are they bringing me here? What do I have to share? And I think another component for me, this is just me. I mean, people get success a lot of type of ways.
Yeah.
I'm not just successful in comedy. I'm successful off stage.
I love that. I love that.
I have a great wife. I have a great family. I have a great support system.
Yes.
I'm not seeking fame and success to fulfill me. I'm fulfilled. And so now my success is more evident and it's authentic. Like I'm not out on the road trying to pick up women. I'm not even giving that energy out. Like if you see me, I'm not even giving the, hey, what's up, girl? Like I don't even know how to be. I don't know how to be you. I'm a family man. I just like, I don't know how to. It's in there, but I mean, I got to go down deep.
And why? Right?
It's too much. Like so, I'm wholesome. Like
I love that.
I'm safe. There's no agenda. There's no shadiness. I'm solid. I'm a solid, respectable, straightforward man. And and there's no question about my intent. There's no question about where I stand.
Yeah. And
so I think when you not only serve people, but then you give people a reference point. Sometimes people say, how long you been married? I'm married 23 years. I ain't got no side chick. I ain't got no outside of the marriage situations. With my wife,
right?
Great marriage, a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, well, I can do that too. Like I'm not this anomaly. I'm not this thing that, oh, you got to go to this particular school and come from this particular background.
Yeah.
It's like, no, man, what you see is what you get. And I want, my name is Goodwin. It's good to win. I want everybody to win. I want
somebody.
I want everybody to win. And so I don't know. I've always wanted to be a good man. I just always, I grew up not seeing good men. And I just made a vow to myself, you're going to be a good man, you know, and you're going to represent well. And when you do represent well, success will find you. You connect with other positive people. Like, you can't lose with the stuff I use, right? You can't,
right. Like, you can't, there's no way.
I would have to go off the rails, right? If I stay in my purpose, in my lane, if I do the things that I've been equipped to do, I'm going to win. I'm going to be successful. So I it's people. And when I think less about Mike and more about people, good man.
Yeah. And I can really do stuff. This has been so good. Y'all, we could continue to keep on talking, but you know we got to wrap. I have so enjoyed this time with you today. Y'all, everybody, listen, let me tell you where you all can find him. First of all, let me just say this. This gentleman can be found here at MikeGoodwin.com. You need to check him out. Look, he's pointing down at the screen. Go check him out. You can also find him on all social media platforms. Instagram, I know for sure, at Mike Goodwin, the same thing. You want him to talk to communities, because what I'm also hearing is the words of encouragement that you didn't know that you provided to the folks that are here right now, right? And even to me, that in itself is a beautiful place to serve the people and be a part of some in any way a ministry. And what you have said today is most appreciated. You don't even know. You listen, like I'm ready to say the doors of the church is open, all minds and hearts are clear. You know what I mean? Like,
will there be one?
Will there be one? Praise the Lord, saints. Will there be one? Will there be one? Will there be one? You know, yes. Come on to the altar. Yes, and the music is playing softly in the background.
Meta-Christianly, the music.
Yes.
Christianly.
Yes. Are you coming by letter, by Christian? You know? Right? Yes, I love it. And so, guys, let me also put this back up here because I want y'all to get and listen. If you are not familiar with Mike Goodwin, you need to get to know Mike Goodwin. That's first and foremost. Number two, guys, we are going to be sharing this on our Brownstone Worldwide page on Facebook. And we'll also be placing this information in Brownstone Living Magazine so you can keep in touch with this gentleman as he grows. How can you get in touch with Mike Goodwin? Go ahead and scan that with your phone right now, or take a picture with your phone and scan it with somebody else's, your brown skin cousin, somebody, so that you can get in touch with Mike Goodwin. Mike Goodwin, we do appreciate you coming to hang out with us today here in the Brownstone. Listen, I love listening to you all's stories, because here's what we know here at the Brownstone. Our responsibility here at Brownstone Worldwide is to continue to change the narrative of how we tell our stories our way. Right. And your story, you told it your way. And it has blessed me and the folks in here who looking like they ready to shout. I am appreciative of what you have brought to us today. Everybody, I am so glad that you have took some time to hang out with us. We're gonna wrap up by just saying thank you once again. Are there any parting words, sir, that you would like to leave for our audience?
Yeah, just go do it, people. Do it. Yes. There's something that you have on your heart. Maximum execution. It's
absolutely.
You have to action. You have to do action. You have to action. Take action. Take action. One of the actions I would love for you to take is to check out my podcast. I have a podcast called The Best Advice Ever Podcast.
Okay.
And I created this podcast primarily to provide an inspirational, funny episode that you can check out. Once a week, I drop them on every Wednesday. And
where is that at?
YouTube. They're on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast. My podcast is available.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share that with the people, because you ain't say that, and now I have to try to figure out like how I'm gonna put that up there so people can see.
Right.
The Best Advice Ever podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Anywhere that you can find podcasts, that's where you can find Mike Goodwin's podcast. I Love it. And I appreciate you for hanging out with us today, Mike.
Thank you
All
for
right,
having
you guys. Yes. And you guys, listen, make sure that you are staying in touch with us with our lunch and learns, and here at brownstoneworldwide.com, Brownstone Living Magazine, and of course, KCCR, the Brownstone Podcast. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.